Thank you for being with us. What do you make of the summit?
So I've been listening to your gloom mongers there and quite surprised, really, at the tone that they've been taking. I think that you need to take these things in the round. So, for example, there's been no progress made in relation to Gaza. Let's go for that, because it's right to say that Donald Trump said, we don't agree on this. But remember this. They had an hour-long conversation, just the two of them. How many times does Donald Trump have an hour-long private conversation with any world leaders? And Donald Trump needs to have some decent friends. He needs to have some sensible friends. He needs to stop listening to the likes of Netanyahu and Putin and spend some time with some people who can help him and help the world to find a way through problems such as Gaza. Now, he says that he doesn't agree with us recognizing Palestine, but he focused on the hostages, and he said they had to be released before, and then there will be peace. And the question is, what does that peace then look like? And the fact that he was not overtly criticising us, just saying that he didn't agree, I think doesn't show that there's a major wedge between the Prime Minister and the President of the United States. And I think that it's all to play for. I think that if a sensible plan can be put before Donald Trump, there aren't any other sensible plans that are being hatched. And I think that, Keir Starmer having a good relationship with the President is an absolute positive, and is that there is a possibility of being able to influence him in the right way. That, for example. I also heard complaints about the tariffs, and the fact that we have higher tariffs than we did before Donald Trump got in. And of course we do. We have 10% tariffs. It's better that than to be a Swiss person at the moment who has 39% tariffs. We do have the best tariffs of any other country. It's unfortunate we have any at all, of course, and more negotiations need to happen in relation to steel. To be honest with you, I wasn't thinking I was going to come on and say all of that, but having just listened to your journalists kind of, pouring such cold water on everything, I just feel a bit provoked.
Fair enough. But I will come back on a bit of it, because I think, in our defence, we have said that it has been a success, that, Donald Trump was well behaved, that there clearly is a positive personal relationship between these two men, which I'll be honest, I didn't predict a year ago, but that has come to pass. And also that investment that was announced is a real deal, it's significant. But just on Gaza, just to pick you up on the Gaza thing, and look, I take your point that it is important to get Donald Trump in the room, it's important to have that strong relationship in order to make the case. But there hasn't been any movement on Gaza, has there? And, you listen to what Donald Trump said in the press conference. He wasn't moving towards Keir Starmer's perspective at all, and he said that he disagreed quite, strongly, it felt, with the recognition of Palestinian statehood. Now, you might say that, look, you're not going to persuade him on something like Gaza, that's just how it is. But it's not really like there has been a diplomatic breakthrough on it, though, surely?
No, I'm not saying there's been a diplomatic breakthrough, but what I am saying is this, is that the differences that there are not insurmountable, are not a major problem. He didn't use this as an opportunity to have a go at Britain. Why are you doing this? It's irresponsible, or kind of picking up on any of Netanyahu's wilder lines against Britain that obviously they have been trying to persuade the Americans of the truth of. But instead simply saying, well, I don't agree with Britain in relation to this. And it leaves the door open to, he wants peace, we want peace. So, how do we go about achieving that? So, as far as he's concerned, it's conditional on the hostages being released. And frankly, I don't think there'd be many people who would disagree with that. The hostages must be released in order for there to be peace. Then the question is, what does Donald Trump want when it comes to peace? And he is talking about, losing patience with Netanyahu. The wording is kind of much stronger than that, privately, from what one understands. And the same with Putin. So at that moment, at that precise moment when he's losing patience with these two, for Britain to be in a strong position and for him to have a strong relationship with the Prime Minister is not a negative. It is a positive, and it is important not only for Britain, but I think, for the cause of peace in both Gaza and in Ukraine, for us to have the ear of the President and for him to be listening.
Can I ask, do you think that Israel's actions in Gaza amount to a genocide?
Personally? Yeah, personally, I think it looks like a genocide to me. But it doesn't really matter what I think. What matters is what a court of law thinks. And there will be a reckoning for this. And at that stage, we need to have a court of law make a decision one way or the other. It won't be for politicians. And remember, they won't let journalists like yourself into Gaza. So it's quite difficult at this stage to be able to get a proper assessment of evidence. But from what one can see, yeah, sure, it looks like a genocide. But, I'm not the one who makes the decision. A court will make the decision.
Emily Thornberry, thank you very much for coming on the programme, for your spirited defence of Keir Starmer as well.
Sorry, but really, I was so provoked.